Manga-Waido.
My name's Yuna. I'm working as a temporary agency employee at a life insurance company. I originally worked at another company as a regular employee, but I resigned when I was blessed with my daughter 3 years ago. After that, I signed up with an employment agency to make my return, and this is the company they sent me to.
Everyone, the morning meeting will begin shortly.
The branch manager walked into the office with a beaming smile on his face. Our branch must have been performing well.
We achieved 157% of our target figure this month. I know you've all been working hard, but you performed particularly amazing, Yuna. Let's keep this up.
Okay, we've got this. I've always enjoyed talking to people, so sales was my forte. And being praised like that made my motivation go through the roof. However,
Tell me what you're made of today, guys.
I had one major problem at work. He's watching me again.
Yuna, I want to speak to you.
I knew it. I sighed, slumped my shoulders, and hurried in the direction of the voice. Sat at his desk, glaring at me, was my direct superior, Mr. Tanaka. He was always competing with me to bring in the top results, and for some reason seemed to view me as his rival.
You! That customer list I asked you to compile. It's too complicated, and I don't understand it.
Whenever I was outperforming him, he called me over to his desk and invented some pretext to pick a fight with me. In truth, this is the same customer list we've been using since forever, so to suddenly claim it was too complicated after all this time was a blatant lie. But I knew that if I argued with him, I'd only be making my life more difficult. One day, something happened. That day, I received a call from the daycare center. Apparently, my daughter had a fever, and they wanted me to come and collect her. I immediately got permission from the branch manager and started getting ready to go home. Tanaka passed by my desk, and to my regret, we made direct contact. I preemptively refused him as a matter of courtesy, even though I knew it'd probably end up coming back to bite me. I'm sorry, I have to go. My little girl has a fever. Just as I expected, it came back to bite me.
What? You think agency temps get to go home early? You should know your place here.
You think agency temps. This was a pet phrase of Mr. Tanaka's, and he always made fun of the agency staff.
First and foremost, I make a point of taking care of my kids properly so they don't get sick. Are you looking after her properly? Please take your child care a little more seriously.
I wonder how many times I wanted to punch his lights out while he preaches pompously at me without understanding my circumstances. But my desire to collect my daughter as soon as possible won out, so I kept my head down, made my apologies, and left the office. Tanaka's nagging didn't end there. One day, while I was arranging some documents for a customer, I had an appointment with 2 hours later. I was met with the thud of a bundle of papers being tossed onto my desk. I was in disbelief. When I looked up, there was Tanaka, stood looking down on me with a big grin on his face.
I want these documents put together within 2 hours.
Huh? But I have an appointment with the customer soon.
What? You think you, an agency temp, can disobey an order from me, your boss, a regular employee?
It was as he said. My position was weak. No, I'll have it done soon. Quarreling with him here wouldn't have achieved anything. I'm an adult, he's a child. As the adult, I will compromise. As I kept telling myself that, I got to work on putting the documents together. I probably could have taken him to court for parental discrimination and power harassment. But to tell the truth, I didn't want to cause any trouble with my private life being so busy with childcare, so I dealt with him as best as I could.
I want this customer list remade from scratch.
Understood. Tanaka sniggered and left the office. I thought she might have overheard his incessant nitpicking, so I sat down at the desk next to mine and apologized to Ray, another agency worker. Oh, it's fine. Ray's a single mother raising a 5-year-old. Not only was she an agency worker like me, but being a mother too, we got on really well and often went out to grab lunch together. I was trying so hard not to cause any trouble, but it's so difficult.
It can't be helped. It is Tanaka you're dealing with after all. I can tell you're doing your best. By the way, Yuna, there's something I want to discuss with.
Ray, I need to talk to you. Come here for a moment.
Tanaka walked into the office and began speaking, cutting Ray off mid-sentence. Ray's shoulders suddenly jolted, her expression sunk, and she replied, okay. After briefly apologizing to me, she walked over to Tanaka. Unable to forget Ray's gloomy expression, I went over to check on her, but...
Yuna! Those documents aren't gonna organize themselves!
Having been given a warning, I had no choice but to carry on with my work. When I went to the women's locker room as usual, to my surprise, There was Ray, who had collapsed in tears. Ray, what's wrong? If you want to talk, I'm here to listen. Ray remained silent for a while, but eventually began mumbling something.
Tanaka's been sexually harassing me for a long time.
Sexual harassment?
Yes. He's always lurking around me, touching my body in weird ways. And whenever we're together in the office, he constantly stares at me while I work.
Is that what happened when he called you over yesterday too?
Yes. He called me to the office kitchen yesterday and asked if I'd go for a meal with him. When I said no. You think an agency temp can reject me? I think you know what happens to people who disobey orders from their boss, don't you? Even if you regret it, it's too late now. It's what he said.
Oh my god!
I don't want to come to work anymore.
Ray, I think you should tell the branch manager about this. But I know it's a delicate matter, and I'll respect your will no matter what you do. Ray nodded silently and said,
I'm gonna tell the branch manager. I want to carry on working here.
In a tiny, trembling voice. With that, me and Ray immediately left the locker room and headed to the branch manager's office. But
where do you think you're going?
We ran into Tanaka on the way, who, seeing Ray's red, tear-stained face, glared at her, as if to say, you told her, didn't you? Ray told me about what you've been doing to her. We're going to tell the manager everything. Aren't you married, Mr. Tanaka? How do you think your wife's going to feel about you sexually harassing someone?
Huh? I do happen to be married, but do you really think I'd sexually harass a girl like that? If you're thinking of running your mouth, the moment you go blabbing without any proof, you'll be seen as nothing but a scheming liar.
You're right. Regarding the sexual harassment, there's no proof. But as for the remarks constituting power harassment made towards me, there is.
Huh?
I wanted to avoid trouble because I'm so busy with raising my daughter, so I did plan on handing it over to the branch manager once things eased up a bit, but I'm going to give it to him now. I took a recording device out of my bag. Tanaka's eyes widened and his face turned red.
Who the hell do you think you are?
He snatched the recording device out of my hand, threw it on the floor, and stomped on it as hard as he could. What are you doing?
Shut up! How dare an agency temp behave with such insolence? Get out, agency scum!
Yuna!
He pushed me as we were stood right by a set of stairs. I braced for impact as I felt the sensation of my body floating through the air, but... Ow! Oh, I'm sorry! I was caught by a woman who must have been in her 60s. Are you okay? When I asked if she was all right, was in a panic, she responded, I'm fine, and stood up slowly. In a rage, I looked up at Tanaka, but...
Mom! What are you doing here?
You're his mom? Thank you for being such good colleagues to my no. He appears to be causing you quite some trouble. I was shopping at a nearby department store and thought I'd stop by to ask you some questions about insurance. When I did, I heard you arguing with this lady. I didn't think it'd be a good idea to interrupt you, so I stopped and listened. Sexual harassment? Power harassment? Just what have you been up to?
No, Mom! I didn't,
Not only that, but you pushed her, didn't you? I'm calling the police immediately.
Wait! Please, just wait a sec! We just bumped into each other!
I saw you push her with my own eyes.
Mom! Please believe me, I'm your son! She's always palming her work off on me, despite only being an agency temp, because she's jealous I'm such an elite performer!
What? So what if she's an agency worker? I used to do agency work myself, you know? I raised you while working as an agency temp, but it seems I made a mistake somewhere along the way. You always did do nothing but lie when backed into a corner. Like the time you told me you couldn't come home when your son had a fever because you were busy with work, but it turned out you were just at a drinking party. I've been turning a blind eye this whole time, but I'll never believe a word you say ever again. And I can't believe you're pestering this young girl when you've got a wife at home. Not only that, but to think you pushed one of your subordinates down the stairs. You won't get away with this. You're going to make up for what you've done. Turning her back to Tanaka, his mom began to call the police. Hey, let's not call the police for now. When I said that, Tanaka's face lit up, but I continued with a smile. Before you do that, let us tell the manager absolutely everything. After that, we reported everything to the manager and played him everything on the voice recorder. I had the recording safely stored on my phone the whole time. Tanaka, probably unable to bring himself to lie in front of his mother, admitted everything. What happened to Tanaka next, you ask? He voluntarily resigned before the branch manager could dismiss him. Word of his sexual harassment and power harassment spread throughout the company, and he was no longer welcome there. I heard from my boss, who I trust, that his wife also caught word of his misdeeds and subsequently booted him out of the house and filed for a divorce. Apparently, he now leads a solitary existence, alone in a rundown apartment. I have no sympathy for him because he completely deserves all of it. Fortunately, the branch manager is a great guy. So the atmosphere in the workplace was restored with Tanaka's departure, and now we're all working together happily again.
Yuna, would you mind showing me how to create this type of document?
Of course! And actually, if I'm able to do it in peace and tranquility, I find my job very rewarding. Anyway, that's all for now. I have work to do.